At a certain age, you will realize something profound. Protecting your mental health is just as important as taking your daily medication. And sometimes the best medicine is simply staying away from the people who drain you. Not everyone who stays in your life deserves to be there, even if they are blood relatives, lifelong friends, or people who once supported you in the past. As you grow older, you no longer have time to tolerate toxic relationships. That is not selfishness, it is maturity. In today's video, you will discover 5 types of people older adults should avoid, based on honest, hard-earned lessons from seniors who have lived through them. These are lessons they paid for with years of their lives, lessons you can learn in just a few minutes. If you value your health, peace of mind, and self-worth, do not skip this video. And if you would like to keep receiving thoughtful, real-life advice, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications because the best is yet to come. Let us begin. Number 1. The manipulator. As we enter our later years, the most precious things are no longer material possessions or past achievements. What matters most is inner peace, the ability to live gently with yourself, free from the weight of draining relationships. And sadly, one of the most silent threats to that peace often comes in the form of someone who seems weak, helpless, or in need an emotional manipulator. They do not enter your life with demands or anger. Instead, they arrive in a reasonable way. A small favor, a sad expression, a comment that sparks guilt. Especially if you have spent much of your life caring for others as a parent, a spouse, a dedicated friend, you may find yourself slipping easily into the trap. Psychologists call this emotional manipulation. These individuals may not even be fully aware of what they are doing, but they have learned one thing well: your guilt is a powerful tool. They create situations that make you feel bad for saying no, keeping you anxious, afraid of disappointing them, or of making them upset. Over time, a single act of kindness turns into a constant expectation. You become the person who must always be available. Gradually, you lose control over your own life. Quiet afternoons, peaceful walks, personal hobbies, all replaced with a to-do list for someone else. Not out of love, but out of obligation. What is dangerous is that manipulators do not need to yell or argue to hurt you. They use silence to make you uneasy. They make backhanded jokes that leave you questioning your worth. And they often hide behind closeness, long friendships, family ties, even your own children, to mask what is essentially one-sided emotional dependency. So, how do you protect yourself? First, understand this. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is psychologically essential. Studies in geriatric psychology have found that seniors who maintain personal boundaries experience less stress, have lower risk of depression, and report greater satisfaction in retirement. Start practicing saying no, not as a cold rejection, but as a firm, kind declaration of your limits. You can say, "I understand that is important to you, but I am not able to help this time," or "I need to take some time for myself right now." You do not owe long explanations or guilt. Boundaries are there to protect your mental well-being, and that is entirely valid. Also, take time to evaluate the quality of your relationships. A healthy relationship does not leave you drained. It does not make you feel like you are constantly carrying the emotional load. If you regularly feel anxious, resentful, or worn out after interacting with someone, that is a clear signal that something needs to change or be let go. And remember this: your kindness is a gift, not a debt to repay. Give it to those who appreciate you, who stand beside you, and who help make your later years richer and more peaceful. Saying no to a manipulator does not make you harsh or unkind. It makes you the rightful owner of your life again. And that is a gift you fully deserve, especially when time becomes more precious than ever. Number 2, the self-centered narcissist. Growing old is not just a pause in the journey. It is a sacred time to reflect, reconnect, and feel truly heard. It is a phase when you deserve to be fully present in meaningful conversations. But what happens when, even in close relationships, your voice always seems to be overshadowed? When every conversation becomes a reflection of someone else's importance and you are reduced to merely echoing their achievements? That is when you might be caught in the orbit of a narcissist. Narcissists are driven by a need for control, admiration, and attention, but they often lack one crucial ingredient of any healthy relationship: empathy. When you share a joy, they compare. When you confide a sorrow, they deflect. Your story only matters if it elevates theirs or gives them an opening to talk more about themselves. This behavior is not just irritating. It can have lasting emotional effects. Being constantly interrupted, downplayed, or ignored may cause you to question your own emotional worth. And that is something you should never have to accept, especially after a lifetime of building wisdom, compassion, and the ability to listen deeply. Modern psychology classifies narcissistic personality disorder as a complex condition. Narcissists often hide a fragile self-esteem beneath a facade of arrogance. Not every self-centered person has a clinical disorder, but behaviors like emotional manipulation, excessive attention-seeking, and lack of empathy are serious red flags. Imagine sharing a quiet personal victory, perhaps how you overcame illness with courage. But before you finish, they interrupt with their own story, which is even harder. They are not really listening, they are simply waiting for their turn to speak. And slowly you begin to realize that every conversation feels more like a one-person show, and you are the captive audience. So, how do you break free from the gravity of a narcissist? The first step is recognition, not with bitterness, but with honesty. Ask yourself, do I feel heard in this relationship? Can I express myself without being judged or overshadowed? Or am I constantly sacrificing my voice just to keep the relationship alive? Then start setting boundaries. This is not harsh, it is a form of self-care. You can be polite yet firm in claiming your right to speak, feel and remain silent when needed. Even a simple phrase like, "I am not finished sharing my thought," can be the first shield against emotional intrusion. Most importantly, never feel guilty for prioritizing mutual relationships, those where both people are seen, respected, and heard. In these spaces, you do not have to compete for attention. You are acknowledged naturally, and in that light you begin to bloom again, just as you are. If a narcissist refuses to change or keeps denying their behavior, you have every right to create distance. Every moment in this stage of life is too precious to be spent feeling invisible or depleted. Spend it with those who fill you up, not those who leave you hollow. When you choose to honor your own emotions, you are doing something incredibly brave. You are teaching others how to treat you. And that act of self-respect does not just benefit you, it sets an example. True affection does not diminish it, uplifts, it does not overshadow it, lets you shine. Number 3, the chronic critic. Growing older should be a time of greater freedom. Freedom in thought, in feeling, and in how you choose to live. With all the wisdom and experience you have gained, you deserve to live these years on your own terms. But that freedom can be slowly strangled when you are constantly surrounded by a critical voice, repeating like a steady drumbeat. You should be different. You could be better. You are not enough. None of us are completely immune to criticism. But when it becomes a regular part of your daily interactions, especially from those closest to you, it can silently chip away at your self-esteem. It makes you second-guess decisions that once made you proud, and it turns simple moments into emotional battlegrounds. What makes this worse is that people who constantly criticize rarely admit it. They say they are just being honest or that they are trying to help. But no matter how sweetly the words are packaged, they often carry a painful message underneath. You are not acceptable the way you are. Psychologists have found that constant criticism does not usually come from a genuine desire to help you improve. Instead, it often stems from the critic's own need for control or unresolved insecurities. Someone who grew up under harsh expectations, who never felt seen or valued, may unconsciously turn that pressure outward to you. And unfortunately, you may become the target of their projections. This does not excuse their behavior, but it does help you understand it. Their words say more about their unhealed inner world than about your worth. What makes chronic criticism so harmful is its slow cumulative effect. A single remark about your appearance might seem harmless. One comment on your lifestyle could be brushed off. But over time, when it becomes a pattern, your brain begins to associate those repeated messages with doubt and shame. This is how self-esteem is worn down, not by a single blow, but by 1,000 small cuts. A study from Stanford University revealed that frequent criticism, especially from people we love, activates the same areas of the brain that respond to real physical threats. In other words, the emotional pain from being constantly judged is not just in your head. It is real, and it can have lasting effects on your mental health. Not all feedback is harmful, but to protect yourself, it is important to learn how to tell the difference between constructive advice and destructive criticism. Constructive feedback usually comes from someone who cares about you. It is specific, respectful, and offered, with the goal of helping you grow for your benefit. Destructive criticism, on the other hand, tends to be vague, repetitive, personal, and rarely delivered with empathy. Here is a simple practice when someone criticizes you. Ask yourself, do I feel respected by this comment? Do I feel understood and supported? Is this coming from someone who genuinely wants what is best for me, or someone who is just trying to control me? If your answers are mostly no, you are likely facing toxic criticism. You have the right to set boundaries even with those closest to you. No one has the privilege to make you feel small in your own life, especially not after everything you have been through to become the person you are today. You do not need to fight or argue. Sometimes a calm but clear response can speak volumes. I appreciate your concern, but I am confident in the choice I have made. Or I value your opinion, but I would prefer to be spoken to with more kindness. These kinds of responses not only shield your heart, but they also send a clear message: you know your worth, and you do not need anyone else to validate it. Like a garden needs sunlight, your spirit needs uplifting connections. Seek out people who make you feel seen, heard, and encouraged. It might be a friend who celebrates even your smallest joys, a community group where your voice is welcomed, or a fellow hobbyist who always inspires your growth. These relationships do not just heal past wounds, they remind you that your value is deep and enduring. Life is not a courtroom where everyone gets to judge you. It is a journey where you get to choose your companions, and the right ones will not constantly tell you to be different. They will say, "I appreciate you just as you are." If someone makes you feel like you are not enough, remember, that is a feeling you do not need to carry. Instead, choose relationships that make you feel full, confident, and loved. Because by now, you have lived long enough to know the most important voice in your life is not the critic's, it is your own, when you say, "I am enough." And I choose peace, number 4, the irresponsible one. Your later years should be a time of lightness, a chance to finally lay down the heavy burdens of responsibility that once kept you awake at night. But for many older adults, that peace is constantly interrupted by the chaos of others, especially by those who simply refuse to grow up. An irresponsible person is not just someone who makes mistakes. They are the ones who consistently avoid the consequences of their actions, shift blame onto others, and rely on those with generous hearts like you to carry their load for them. Imagine a familiar situation. A grandchild, a younger sibling, or an old friend keeps running into trouble. Debt, unemployment, divorce, personal drama. Every time they come to you, pleading grateful-eyed, promising, "I will change, I will do better. This is the last time." But it never is. You help once, then twice, then 10 times, and each time a bit more of your trust and energy is worn away. This does not just weigh on your spirit, it directly threatens the peace you have spent your entire life building. Psychology calls this compassion fatigue, a deep emotional exhaustion that occurs when you feel used and drained from helping someone who never truly changes. Ironically, each time you rescue them, you are unintentionally reinforcing their pattern of avoidance. Responsibility is not something we are born with. It is a skill built through facing the consequences of our actions. If you are always there to cushion their fall, they will never learn to stand on their own. Sometimes letting go is not giving up. It is giving them a chance to grow. Setting boundaries does not mean you are cold or selfish. It is a conscious act of self-protection, emotionally, financially, and spiritually. And it is also how you teach others that every action comes with a consequence, and that true adulthood means taking ownership of one's own life. Learn to say no without guilt. If someone keeps borrowing money but never pays it back, you can respond gently yet firmly. "I understand you are going through a hard time, but I cannot help this time. Maybe it is time to explore other options." This message does not reject love. It simply reminds them it is time to take responsibility. Irresponsible people often use guilt as a tool. They imply that if you really cared, you would not say no. But remember, love does not mean enabling stagnation. Caring can mean listening, offering advice, or simply being present. It does not mean fixing someone else's life at the cost of your own. This stage of life is not meant for carrying other people's burdens. It is a time to prioritize yourself, to live fully, explore joy, and nourish your soul. Surround yourself with people who respect your boundaries, value your presence, and do not treat you as a safety net for their poor choices. In truth, stepping back from the urge to save others is an awakening. It is the moment you realize your time, energy, and peace are just as worth protecting as anyone else's. And when you step back, the irresponsible person is finally forced to step up, or not. But by then you will be standing firm in your own space, grounded in a life that is yours to live peacefully and without intrusion. Let your later years be a peaceful sky one, where you welcome only those who truly appreciate you, respect your value, and honor your emotional boundaries. In psychology, this is known as social selectivity optimization, a natural process where older adults begin to prioritize quality over quantity in their relationships. You no longer have to fix relationships that are broken from the inside. And you certainly do not have to carry the burden of being the one who always endures, just because that is how it has always been. Letting go is a courageous act. It is when you tell yourself, I deserve peace, I deserve to be myself, I deserve to feel safe. Spend the years ahead with the people and experiences that help you flourish: a meaningful conversation, a quiet afternoon tea with an old friend, a short trip to a place you have always dreamed of, or simply waking up in the morning without anyone making you feel anxious. It is easy to blame circumstances, other people, or even aging. But happiness does not come from the outside. It comes from how you choose to live with what you already have. This is something emotional neuroscience has confirmed. Your ability to feel fulfilled does not depend on your age, but on how closely you live in alignment with your own values. Be intentional about who you allow into your inner world. Build a sanctuary for yourself, a space where you feel loved, heard, and never pressured to shrink yourself, just to fit someone else's expectations. I hope these words are more than just something to read. I hope they spark a quiet fire in your heart, a gentle reminder that you are still here and you can still live brilliantly. Now, I invite you to take a moment and reflect. What will you change? How will you care for yourself in this new chapter? Share with me one thing you have realized and one small action you promise to take for yourself. If this message resonated with you, leave a comment with the number 1. If it did not, feel free to respond with 0. I welcome all honest feedback. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up to support the channel. And if you would like to continue receiving thoughtful, inspiring content made especially for older adults, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a future video. Thank you for being here. I will see you in the next one.